this is episode 15. In the previous episode, we had covered verses 2.31 to 2.38, and I had mentioned that the 23 verses, that is verses 2.31 to 2.53, are a part of chapter 2, wherein God explains the righteous battle and how to fight that battle. We had covered 8 out of these 23 verses in the previous episode, and according to God, the righteous battle is staring you in the face. You don't have to search for it. It is your good fortune that you got this opportunity of fighting the righteous battle, and it is akin to having the doors of heaven opened for you. You have to fight this battle, and you can't run away from it. If you choose to quit the righteous battle, then it leads to infamy and others speaking ill of you, among other things. Also, it will hurt your self-esteem, which is worse than death. Today, we will cover verses 2.39 to 2.46. God has explained the righteous battle, and now He is suggesting ways to fight this battle. He provided a glimpse of this in verse 2.38, wherein He says, fight for the sake of duty or dharma, treating alike happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat. Fulfilling your responsibility in this way, you will never incur sin. Further, he is setting the stage in these 8 verses, and the most important knowledge is then shared by him from verses 2.47 onwards. Hence, the following 8 verses are basically setting the stage about how to fight the righteous battle. Let's go through these verses. I will do the literal translations first, and then we will talk about some interesting things. Esha te abhihita Sankhya buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhaya yukto yaya parth karm bandhanam prahasasi. Here God says, I have explained Sankhya Yoga to you, and now listen to me as I reveal Buddhi Yoga or Gyan Yoga. When you act with such understanding, you will be freed from the travails associated with action or karma. Sankhya is the science of self-realization or yoga of self-realization. God says, I have already explained this to you, describing the soul and the righteous battle, which is Sankhya. Now hear me talk about Buddhi Yoga or Gyan Yoga. If you follow this path, you will be freed from the travails associated with action, karma. According to God, there are 3 ways that can lead us to Him. That is path of knowledge or Gyan Yoga, path of right action or Karma Yoga, and path of meditation, Dhyan Yoga. Here, he talks about Buddhi Yoga before Karma Yoga. As we progress further and reach chapter 4, God says that these paths are not different, but they actually merge into the same one. God explains Buddhi Yoga before Karma, as the path of right action requires one to act with rational discrimination, which is Buddhi or Gyan Yoga. So the 2 merge into one. And similarly does Dhyan Yoga, as action requires unwavering focus and concentration, which is Dhyan. And he says that acting with Buddhi Yoga will free you from the travails associated with action, karma. Now what does this freedom mean? Well, it means you will be free from the delusion of your actions. Delusion of whether you are killing someone or not, whether you are doing something or not, whether you are the cause or not. So that was verse 39. Then verse 40 is, Na ih abhikram nashah asti pratyevayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. God says, acting with this knowledge, there is no loss, no contrary or negative result. And even if you attain a small bit of this knowledge, you can save yourself from fear and danger. That was verse 40. And then verse 41 is, Vyavasayatmika buddhi eka eh kurunandana bahushakha hi anantah cha buddhayah avyavasayinam. God says, the intellect of those who are on this path is resolute and determined, and hence their aim is singular focused or one-pointed, whereas the intellect of those who are irresolute is many-branched, and hence they have endless thoughts. Their mind is undecided and variously ramified. I will now read verses 42 to 44 together. These are, Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipashchitah Ved vadartah parth na anyat asti iti vadina. Kamatmana swargpara janm karm fal pradam kriya vishesh bahulam bhogeshwarya gatim prati bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya aprihit chetsam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhav na vidhiyate. These were verses 42 to 44, wherein God says, O Parth, those who have a limited understanding, are irresolute, and whose intellect is many-branched, get attracted to the flowery words of Vedas and hence are deluded. They are attracted to the flowery words of Vedas and say that there is no truth but this. They advocate ostentatious rituals for elevation to the celestial abodes and presume no higher principle is described in them. They glorify only those portions of the Vedas that please their senses and perform pompous ritualistic ceremonies for attaining higher birth, opulence, sensual enjoyment, and elevation to the heavenly planets. With their minds deeply attached to worldly pleasures and their intellects bewildered by such things, they are unable to possess the resolute determination for success on the path to God. So these were verses 42 to 44. Verse 45 is Tragunya Vishya Veda Nistragunyo Bhav Arjuna Nirdvando Nitya Satvahto Niryog Shem Atmavan. God says the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature, that is Sattva, which is goodness, Rajas, which is passion, and Tamas, which is ignorance. O Arjun, rise above the three modes to a state of pure spiritual consciousness, freeing yourself from dualities, eternally fixed in truth or righteousness, and without concern for material gain, belonging, ownership, and unbridled desire. Be situated in the self. Then verse 46 is Yavanarth Udpane Sarvata Samlupto Udake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanata. God says, for the intelligent, Veda's use is akin to whatever purpose is served by a small well of water to a person who receives water from many other sources. Vedas are not really a source of infinite knowledge. It is just a small well, especially for a person who can see water everywhere. So this was the literal translation of all the verses. Now I will talk about some interesting verses. So going back to verse 2.39, where God explains Buddhi Yoga. Esha te abhihita sankhya buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhaya yukto yaya parth karm bandham prahasyasi. Hear me speak about Buddhi Yoga. And again the word Yog is used with Buddhi by God. Yog originates from Yukt, which means joint or balanced. What does this balance mean? For me, the easiest way to understand balance is understanding the Ashtang or 8 limbs of Yoga from the times of Patanjali and derive the meaning from them. These Ashtang are Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. Now, what do they actually mean? Yam means ethical standards. Niyam means rules and principles. Asan means posture, observance, or a bit of perseverance. Pranayam means breath control, restraint, or discipline. Pratyahar means restraining one from sense objects. Dharana means belief or rational discrimination. Dhyan means focus or concentration. And Samadhi is the stage of spiritual harmony and ecstasy when you merge into the infinite. My interpretation of these 8 Ashtang can be summarized in simple language. Yoga means doing anything with perseverance. Perseverance includes restraint, discipline, focus, concentration, and not giving up. Second, yoga requires grounding actions in some principles, which are determined rules derived from ethical standards. And third is acting with rational discrimination. Hence, yoga is any action done with perseverance, principles, and rational discrimination. Yoga is a very important word and will be used a lot, such as Buddhi Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga. Going forward, Yajna will be used as well. Any action done with yoga or anything done together with yoga is Yajna. Yajna doesn't mean lighting the holy fire and doing rituals here. So that is verse 2.39. Then in verse 2.41, God says, Vivasayatmika buddhi eka ih kurunandana bahushaka hi ananta cha buddhaya avivasayinam. Those who are clear and resolute, their intellect is singularly focused. Anyone having clarity of thoughts and ambitions will focus on one thing at a time. Arjuna had clarity, and hence he was able to hit on the eye of the fish. On the contrary, people who are irresolute focus on too many things. In Karma Yoga, it is important to be resolute and singularly focused. Verse 2.41 is an important verse. Then I want to quote verse 2.42. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipashchita ved vadartah parth na anyat asti iti vadina. Only fools say there is no truth besides your path. Being singularly focused doesn't mean that your path is the only truth. It only means you should focus on your aim and your path. There might be many more paths, but whosoever says that those paths are wrong is a fool. No intelligent person would declare that there is just one path that leads to your goal and that all other paths are irrelevant or wrong. I keep talking about Karma Yoga in all my interpretations of these sets of verses, and that Karma Yoga is a path to realize God. I also say that for a hermit, the path to reach God is the path of Dhyan. Paramahansa Yogananda says meditation is the best form of action, which is absolutely correct. I speak of Karma Yoga instead of Dhyan Yoga, but nowhere I say that he is wrong. And if I do that, I would be considered a fool. By the way, Paramahansa Yogananda says meditation is the fastest path to God. He also says that the life of a normal householder with the right action is the most difficult path to God. But he doesn't say that it is not a path to God. So the path of karma or the path of right action is a way to God. It might be difficult as per Paramahansa Yogananda, but he is not saying that this is not a right path. So, na anyat asti iti vadina. Whoever says that it is wrong is a fool. That is verse 2.42. I will just stop here. Thank you.